earlier, we would be talking about the labor strike action across the country. Before I do that, remember we're live on Facebook, Nigeria Info PH. We're live on YouTube, Nigeria Info PH, and we're active and interactive on X, Nigeria Info PH. So, as you already know, for a while now, there's been the back and the forth as it relates to negotiations between the federal government, the organized private sector, and the organized labor as to what the new minimum wage should be. Labor currently is insisting on 494,000 naira, but the federal government is saying we cannot afford that, because that will result to 9.5 trillion naira as the collective wage bill, and so they are offering 60,000 naira as minimum wage. Labour gave the deadline of 31st May 2024 as the deadline for a new minimum wage, and the federal government has not been able to meet. There is the report that there would be another meeting tomorrow. However, there is the strike action ongoing. As some of you already know, the Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company is not supplying electricity because the TCN has also been affected by the strike. We have reports that certain airports have been shut, and certain schools have been shut down. As very soon I'll play some of the sound bites my colleagues have been able to get as they have been on the field. So I've got my colleagues from Lagos, Abuja, and one from Port Harcourt. I will start with Solomon Ndai, who is at the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Solomon, greetings to you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, greetings, Kalada, and of course I can hear you. Greetings to the great people of Port Harcourt.
All right, thank you very much. So what's the situation like in Abuja? We've seen certain reports on pages of newspapers, but would like to hear from you.
Okay.
What is it like in Abuja?
Okay. Thank you very much. And let me start from the most recent update we're just getting. We're just getting feelers that the federal government has again invited members of the organized labor, that's leadership, for another meeting. Don't forget the last one they held midnight of yesterday, ended up deadlocked, and that's why we have the strike. So as it is, that's the most recent update we have. But then throughout the day, it has been very interesting. As you know, Abuja is the nation's capital, and a lot of these things are spearheaded from here. Interesting.
I guess we have the network issues now.
There was a lot of compliance with this particular strike. I'm not in recent years I've covered strikes. I've never seen a kind of strike that has this level of compliance very high. From the FCT Secretariat, where that is like our state secretariat, that's like where our government house, where we have our FCT minister, your own Yeson Wiki. The place was shut down this morning. Even in the National Assembly, the Parliamentary Staff Association, PASAN, they cut down the water supply in the National Assembly. So the compliance has been very high. The Federal Secretariat looked like a graveyard early this morning when I went there, and a lot of things. The evasion, I had a colleague that was supposed to travel, from the Abuja airport somewhere in Nigeria. He couldn't go because of this particular strike action. So I must say the level of compliance here is extremely high. Only organizations like ours and other private organizations you can see are still functioning and running normally and everything. But anything that has a touch of government, anything has been shut down in Abuja. Luckily, we've not seen any case of violence. We've not seen any case of breakdown in law and order. But as it concerns compliance, the residents of the FCT, the civil servants here, the workers here, government workers here, have totally complied. And you can see that members of the NLC, the TUC, have even visited some of these particular offices and threatened the staff, telling them nobody should resume work. This strike is going to continue, and then everything will remain like that. So the compliance level here has just been extraordinary. I must tell you, I've never seen anything like this. It's like this is the height of unionism.
Okay, when you talk about the compliance to the ongoing strike action, I want to look at certain sensitive sectors like health, like power. What is it like?
Oh my God, exactly. Just I heard you were saying it, and that the Port Harcourt is it's same in Abuja. We have not had electricity since midnight yesterday.
Okay.
No, like total compliance. In fact, as you can see in the Jimba, who is the transition, TCN, she told us that the national grid has even been taken out. So it's total compliance. And then when it comes to health centers, we received one or two reports, but we couldn't confirm everything. But then I also got my own sources. Like there's a very big hospital in Abuja here called the Kubwa General Hospital. Kubwa, for those of you that do not know Abuja, Kubwa is a suburb. And with suburbs, we have dense population. So they are very reliant on some of these hospitals that are there. Kubwa General Hospital was not operating to its full capacity. as of this morning. We don't know if the situation has changed, but there was also compliance from Kubwa General Hospital. Some other hospitals that are more city-centered
we have network issues yet again. Can you hear me, Solomon?
We're not really affected, but we don't know what people from the south, and it was very, very difficult, for people to gain medical access. So it cuts across all sectors. I told you of the aviation sector, whereby I had a colleague that couldn't fly. They had to tell them to come back tomorrow. Maybe they will fly. So it's everywhere. Even as it concerns the filling stations in Abuja here, some filling stations are still selling, but then you could see there was a lot of panic buying, even during the weekend and even up to this morning, because a lot of people were scared that the strike would shut down that particular sector. For now, I cannot tell you that it has shut down the filling station because we're still buying fuel and everything, but then nobody knows what will happen.
Banks and schools are operational?
Yes. Schools, most of the schools we visited were still operational, but as for the banks, some banks took precautionary measures, because when there's an instruction like this, people need a lot of clarity. So some banks took precautionary measures and did not open. Not that they were picketed, but then some other banks, some other commercial banks, I personally transacted in one of them, they are open.
All right.
Activities seem to be going normal, but when it comes to anything government institution, that is where the compliance is. I don't think the labor people have not really tried to involve private sector people with this particular issue. It's just a purely government affair. So far, so good in Abuja.
All right. You are at the federal capital. I would like to know if you've been able to interact with the labor leadership at the national level.
Okay, I'm scheduled to have a meeting with Nuhu Toro, who is the TUC General Secretary. We're going to have an interview with him, and shortly I will share those feeds with everyone so you could see what they are called. But from the little conversations we've had informally with some members of the Secretariat, some other people, they are insisting that if this is the strike that will end, whatever this is the strike that will last, they will give it all their all. This is like the World Cup. This is they are going to do. Yes, they are going to give their all and all for this particular cause, because they are saying that this is what affects them directly, and therefore, if it is not addressed, there's no way they can exist. So therefore, they must bring a solution, and this strike, they feel, or they want it to be the breaking point where government will have to, give them what they want, or at least very close. So they are insisting. Some of them even told me, I said, Solomon, see, you have covered us for a while. Normally when we do strike protests, you see, some people don't comply, but you can see this one with your two eyes, and it's true. I can see it with my eyes. The compliance level, the passion in this particular strike, the industrial action here, honestly, we will just wait to see what happens.
All right, let's go now to Lagos State, where I have my colleague Inena Okon. Good afternoon to you. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. I can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. So what is the situation like in Lagos State?
Okay, so my day started off at the Lagos State Secretariat, where you have government workers. When I got there, the gate was locked, but I could see some workers who had come to work, I guess, hoping that they will, somehow that NLC would somehow, not really follow up with compliance and all. So I saw a number of them standing outside. The gate was locked. NLC and TUC are not allowing anybody to come in, and people are not able to go out also. From there, I moved to the Muritala Mohammed Airport 1 and 2, where I also found out that many people who were scheduled to travel out of Lagos were unable to. So in fact, I was there up until 12, when many of them had to turn back and go home. So that's what the situation is in Lagos. People are just moving about. Those who are mostly with the government are unable to work today. It's peaceful. The compliance is 100, like
100%.
100.
Yeah.
Yes. And NLC are there to follow through. They are just there singing, dancing, and then while the passengers are just staring at them, those who are able to wait, thinking that there will probably be a change, are waiting. Those who could not wait were leaving the airport.
All right. Now, I would like you to help me with sensitive sectors: health, education, power. Now, for education, they're writing the O-level exams. I stand to be corrected. Today, they're supposed to be a subject, that the candidates will sit for. So what is it like in Lagos as it relates to these sectors?
Okay, so for education, the secondary schools, I found out that a number of primary and secondary schools were going to school today,
Mm.
but I'm not exactly sure if the WAEC exam, if it's held. I'm not exactly sure, so I don't give out the wrong information. I'm not exactly sure, but on my way I saw students who were going to school.
Okay.
Then I also know that the University of Lagos. So I reached out to someone in the University of Lagos who said classes were cancelled. So I guess that would be because ASU would obviously join the strike,
Yeah, okay.
right? Then for the health sector, a few persons going in and out of last week when I visited. It's not the regular. Today is Monday, and you'd expect that there will be a number of persons, high number of people moving in and out, but it's just very few people going in and coming out. That's what I saw in the health sector.
But do you have power supply? Because there's the
No,
report that
power
TCN.
supply is off. It's
Oh, okay.
off. There is no light in Lagos.
Transportation affected apart from aviation? Talking about buses, taxis on the road, are they affected as well?
Okay, so for taxis and buses, those ones are still going about their normal business. It's just that the fare has gone up.
Oh, really?
That would always be the effect of things like this. The fare will go up, and people are left with no choice because you have to move from one place to another. So the fares have gone up, but the roads are very free because a number of workers are at home. But then the fare have gone up, and then people are just going about their business. The buses are on the road, taxis are on the road. Again, the people that are the taxi drivers who are also affected will be those who are at the airport because there are no passengers for them to pick. So I saw a number of them who were outside the airports. They were just gisting and just moving up and down. So those are the ones that are affected. But the other bus drivers who are just moving from one point to another, they are going about their businesses.
All right, now I've got a commercial break, so I'm going to quickly ask you one last question. Did you or have you been able to interact with the leadership of Labour at the Lagos state level, or maybe on the national if they are in Lagos?
Yes, so when I went to the Lagos State Secretariat, I met with the PRO of NLC in Lagos, who maintained that they were going to be there as long as the government until the government decides to accede to their demands.
All right.
So they said they've had enough back and forth, and that the 60,000 which government is proposing, that is not going to do anything for them, considering the fact that the prices of foodstuff, the prices of transportation has gone up and all of that. So they insist that they are going to be there. We also had the chairman of NLC on Nigeria Info on our show this morning, and she also insisted that they are going to be there as long as the government decides not to answer them. So yeah, that's it.
So they're insisting on 494,000 naira, yeah?
Yes.
All right, a quick commercial break. When I come back, I'll continue conversing with my colleagues. I have Soibi Oruwari, who is my colleague here in Port Harcourt, and he will tell me how the labor strike action is impacting on Rivers State. So please do stay tuned. We'll be right back. 4, and yes, we're still talking about you're not Nigeria active, very much active on X Nigerian Info page as well. I've got Inenel Kon, my colleague from Nigerian Info Lagos, and I have Solomon Indahi, my colleague from Nigerian Info Abuja, and I've got Suibi Oruwari, who I will be talking with next, and you must be familiar with him already because he's my colleague from Nigeria Info Port Harcourt. Now, just a quick, just to inform you that in the southeast, according to the Vanguard, there is a total compliance as airports, courts, orders are shut down. In Warri, there is some resistance. Bank snub NLC and TUC's directive open in Warri. And then there's the headline that Kano doctors have rejected NLC directive. ASU has decided to join the strike. Togs attack NLC officials enforcing strike in Plateau State. So yeah, these are some of the pieces of information I want to give to you. But let's now discuss with Soibi Oruwari. Soibi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Kalada.
All right. Good afternoon to you. Welcome. So what is the situation like in River State? The parts you visited?
Yeah. In Rivers State, I think the Rivers workers, the workers in Rivers State, especially that of the government parastatals and their workers, they really complied. When I mean comply, the compliance level. In fact, when I had access, because the gates, the back and the back gate and the front gate were locked.
That's of the secretariat, yeah?
Yes, the ever busy secretariat was, in fact, like it was a cemetery. I was asking the chairman of River State Civil Service Union, the Nigerian Civil Service, I said, what magic did you people perform that? I've never seen this level of compliance. Is it that you people held midnight prayers or you people were explaining? I entered court, same. I entered appeal court. In fact, there was some drama at appeal court in Port Harcourt, whether the case that was supposed to come up about political or whatever, securities wanted to advert some, stop some of the workers, not to. It was immediately addressed and the place was under lock and key. PhD office was not also exempted. NMPC office was not exempted. NDDC was not exempted. Shell was not exempted. In
Shell,
fact,
you mean Shell, the private company?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. The monitoring team went there. They went there and make sure that people that were working were asked to stop. In fact, they were promised to go back to revisit Shell complex to ensure that there is complete and full compliance. I must tell you that the workers are determined. They are seriously determined to ensure that this whole case of living wage or wage award or whatever is finally addressed. The workers, especially those of the civil service, they said, fine, it's not a state. If not for the fact that it's a national directive, they said it is not a state-owned issue. They have no personal state issues with the government in power. That if not for the fact it's from national directive and it affects everybody, they would have promised that they would have come to work. But I didn't see it so. I only saw the compliance thing. Enforcing, no soul, nobody. In fact, it took me to assess the complex.
Okay.
In all the places I went to, I introduced myself, the chairman of the particular union of the area will now open and I will have access to the place and I finish my work. The level of compliance is high. That of filling stations. Some filling stations are open for business.
Okay.
In Port Harcourt,
yeah,
it did not also affect only the private. I mean, the public sector. It also affects the private sectors. The private were also affected, but some of majority that of the Obasanjo, Road, majority of them are under lock and key.
Okay, so the banks are under lock and key. But so can I ask you? Did you visit the airport, the Omagua airport? Because we've just
No, I didn't get to that.
Okay, because we had report from Abuja and Lagos that
I got that passengers were also stranded. I got passengers were.
Okay.
But I have not confirmed.
All right then. I'm going to ask Solomon and Inena one last question. The people of Abuja and Lagos, starting with Solomon, the people of Abuja, how have they reacted to this? What are they saying? Have you interacted with them? Are they happy about it? Because, of course, Labour is asking for an increase in the minimum wage. Are they excited about it, or are they, angry with Labour because some people are arguing that this might, excavate the economic situation? All right, Inena, while we're waiting for Solomon, maybe we can hear from you then.
Okay, go ahead, my dear. Go ahead.
Okay, so a number of persons I spoke to in Lagos today are just wondering why the strike is affecting them, since they are not particularly under the NLC. Some of them are unable to go their normal businesses, and they feel that it's one of those strikes where after one day, in the evening or later the next day, the federal government and NLC would have a conversation, and NLC will call off the strike. So it's very hard to convince them that this is different type of strike. They are just wondering if at the end of the day, if government is going to accede to their demands. That's what it is in Lagos.
All right, so Solomon, let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you so much for being upset. So just like my sister said, if I'm in Lagos, in Abuja, a lot of people are also worried because they feel like this is just double jeopardy for the average Nigerian. Yes, Labour is fighting for the benefit of the average Nigerian, who fall in the category of persons that will actually benefit from this new minimum wage if it is implemented. But a lot of people are now saying, you don't kill Paul to save Peter. What happens to a lot of people that cannot have their business run within these few days of the strike because of the blackout issue? There are a lot of people that are being affected because they have a lot of people here in Abuja, just like every part of the country, and they do job just to survive. Maybe they sell food in an office, or they do that. Now that the offices are shut down, how do they survive? So I think a lot of people, yes, they don't have an issue with the labor and the whole idea, but implementation of what they are doing, I think they are not happy, and that's just the issue. Just like you said in Lagos, people are affected. Unfortunately, people are affected, and it's not good because it's not nice. You can just imagine, put yourself in that situation and see how uncomfortable it is.
All right then. All right. Thank you, Solomon and Inena, for your time. I would continue with Soibi Oruwari the conversation. Okay. So Soibi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right. So, what other areas did you visit? What other areas did you pay visit to?
I didn't hear you.
I'm asking, what other areas did you pay visits to in River State?
Yeah, I visited the hospital, though not on a lock and key, that of the PM River State Teaching Hospital. I banked there and
no, continue.
So that
continue one more. Is it
skeletal works are going on with medical and health work union association themselves, and they are saying that going forward tomorrow.
Sorry, Inena, can you mute your mic, please?
Going forward from tomorrow, they will look at the negotiation between the federal government and Labour and see if they are going to cut down all the services they are rendering, or they have rendered to this, because
All right. I would have to re-establish connection because it became very noisy there. So yeah, I would re-establish. But then you listening, what do you make of the situation? What do you make of what is happening across the country? Like some people are asking, how would this strike action? How would it impact? How would it better the lot of the Nigerian workers? What impact would the strike action make in bettering the lot of the Nigerian workers? While I'm waiting for you to air your views, let's take a listen one last time to Soibi. Soibi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you, Soibi. So you said you visited the health sectors, and what did you experience when you visited those places?
No, I actually did not get in.
Okay.
I don't pass the door gate. I mean, the entrance gate was not fully closed. That place is always also busy, but today it was not as busy because I was rushing to the shop of the monitoring thing at Secretariat. So by the time I came back from the vehicle I was in, so I couldn't go back. What I saw was that we are not as crowded as that was not as crowded as it used to be. But their medical union, one of the medical union team has promised that visit the area. They spoke with and said there are units that they will not allow to be completely closed. They will not allow Kung Fu to them, but they will ensure that there is compliance. But following level of negotiation that is coming out from the federal government and the organized labor.
All right.
But for the monitoring team, they are insist that every unit, every area that is confined, whether for public in River State, should be shut down. They are promised to get to, if I'm able to follow them, go make sure everything is out there. And while talking with the head of service in River State, the head of service of the River State government, the representative was they open wide the gates and allow people to walk. But this time around, the man came down and telling them, I know it is not an internal affair. We ask you to be. I tell you, I've not heard where there was violence. The only place like put down would witness violence appeal court. There is political issue that ought to come up. I don't know whether it finally came up when I left, but when I was there, and there was a bit of altercation between the security and between some persons and people that blocked entrance of the appeal court.
All right.
Matter, I don't know whether it's up or not.
All right. Thank you very much, Soibi Ruwari. The network is not so good, not so great. So I would have to let you go at this point, but thank you for your time and for the information you've given to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, Soibi Ruwari there, my colleague from Nigerian for Port Harcourt. All right, so let's get talking to you and I. We have a few minutes left on the clock. You and I can talk. I'm opening the phone lines right now. And my question is simple. What impact will the strike action make in bettering the lot of Nigerian workers? We have been told total compliance in certain parts of the country, in Abuja, in Lagos, in states in the southeast, a few skirmishes in Kano, in Plateau State. Kano doctors have refused to embark on the strike in Plateau State, the capital, Jos. We've seen people go after enforcers of the NLC or the labor strike. But yeah, basically the feelers we're getting is that there is a total compliance in other parts of the country. Now, my question is, how will this impact on the lot of Nigerian workers in the country? How will this better the lots of Nigerian workers? I'd like to hear from you. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. Those are the call numbers. You can send me a WhatsApp message to 0809-0306-416. Now remember, and please do remember, earlier today, Labour Party was one of the big headlines, and they said to Labour that the strike action will worsen the economic situation in the country, and that the money that they're asking for as minimum wage is not feasible, it's not realistic. So I want to get your thoughts on it. We've been talking about Labour and the federal government's negotiations for a while now, but this is the very start of the strike action. Maybe like Solomon Indai said, tomorrow they might call off the strike action. Is this Solomon Indai? One of them said it. They might call off the strike action tomorrow. Who knows? Because they have a meeting with the federal government tomorrow. But I'd like to get your thoughts basically. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. I've got Kanu, and Kanu is calling me from Iwofe. Kanu, welcome. What is on your mind?
Yeah, that's Mr. Canada. Good evening.
Yeah, I greet you.
Yeah, I'm calling from Iwofe.
All right.
Let me look into the strike. If this strike will be favorable to entire Nigeria, not only for the labor, it will be a welcome development. Because my own point of view is that this strike is for the government workers. Then I want to ask, what about those who are not working?
It's not for the government workers now, because even the private sector would have to pay the minimum wage if the federal government agrees to what Labour is demanding.
Into the agitation, they are agitating for increasement of salary, minimum wage. So and now we who don't graduate, we never get job. What is our whole hope? Look at cement. Let me just shock you now. Just 2 days ago, my landlord increased my rent with this condition. Is it not better for them to protest for everything? Things are not in order in Nigeria. Every people are suffering. Canada, beg, thank you. In short, I don't know what to say.
Thank you very much. I've got Ezekiel from Ubumini. Ezekiel, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Canada.
Yeah, welcome.
Canada, I only have a question. If the federal government is questioning or doubting the price or the figure the NLC is telling them to pay, what about the National Assembly's salaries, arrears, and their sitting allowances? What happened to those money? So let these people know what they're supposed to do. For me, I think if the civil servants are being settled and pay according to what they said, I believe no family, no compound, no community that has no civil servant, everything will reach everybody in the community or in the society. Because through the payment of the civil servant, that is when the economy is flowing. So whether we are civil servants or not, our parents, our brothers and relations are one of the civil servants. So let the federal government speak and be serious about what is happening. According to your question, it will impact positively because only today they have known how much they have lost economically in the country. Thank you very much.
All right. Ezekiel, thank you very much. I've got JAJ from Port Harcourt Township. JAJ, welcome. What is on your mind?
Yeah, Canada, I greet you this afternoon or evening.
All of the above.
You are asking the impact that we make. I don't think just the minimum wage will make much impact. Even if they pay 200,000 naira per worker, it will not make much impact. But I think that what they should do, especially when they have a meeting tomorrow, maybe they can just conclude everything tomorrow. Those for something is not obtainable, but they can find a common ground tomorrow with some clauses that will now benefit other members of the society apart from their members. Canada, Labour can say, okay, fine. For instance, so I'm not saying this is what they want to take. We are agreeing on 100K, right? But with these clauses, we will set up a tripartite committee or a monitoring committee to know what is happening in the refinery, what's happening in the CNG, or is it CNG buses?